So we're at the Old City Cemetery again, guys. We got our beer. Hopefully my batteries don't die. I don't know, they haven't been charging correctly. So yeah, we're gonna go on a tour in a little bit, and you guys get to learn some history. Ready for some more history? Vlog the planet. Guys, I don't think they were expecting this many people. There's a lot of people here. A lot of people here. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome, isn't it? Ah, don't try to bite me. Vampire.
Brains.
Vampire. Zombie. Zombie.
Brains. Brains.
Okay, queer. I mean, queer. Technically, that would be right.
I think our temperance workers have been running around tonight too, so if somebody comes up and tries to take your beer or your wine from you, it might be Mother Baldwin. You'll meet her a little bit later on.
Advocate in the temperance movement and how I wanted to enact an anti-cussing law. But if we use cussing as profane language, cussing and profane language only mars and only darkens the character of a person. And this is where I was buried. All the 3 churches that I helped founded. You can see the different churches here. I founded the first Baptist church in 1849 in San Francisco, and afterwards I organized the First Baptist Church in San Jose in 1849, and finally here in Sacramento in 1850. So God has sure blessed my life, and my wife too.
I am so glad to have you here to join our rally, and everyone knows who I am, correct? Oh, then I need to let you know. I am Elvira Baldwin, famously known throughout the state of California as Mother Baldwin, the champion of temperance.
I'll drink to that. Oh, it's not that bad.
I have a feeling I'm speaking to the wrong crowd of people. Where are my temperance women and men? Praise the Lord. I believe you just heard a wonderful sermon from Reverend Wheeler, my friend in the temperance movement. Yes. Reverend Wheeler, his wife, and I, and many people here in Sacramento City have been working to fight the evil devil rum, the demon brew that is so prevalent. Yes, this is the crowd. Oh my.
Why I'll have you know alcohol central to the Christian faith. Why?
Jesus turned water into wine, but he says, do not be drunk with wine.
Where does he say that in the Bible, sir? He doesn't say that. That's St. Paul, and St. Paul was spiritually consummated.
Okay, folks, I think this argument can go on eternally. Shall we just leave them at it?
So, more beer. Saloon time. Yes. It's pretty cool, guys. Pretty cool.
Pat wanted to buy some of those hussies of beer.
I did. I don't think you saw them. They were on the side.
So long, Jen.
Who's that?
Jen?
Gin?
Did she say gin?
You got gin? This is really cool, guys.
Stand here
Really
wondering what this
cool.
weird woman is doing. Doesn't know like this. Okay. It happens a lot.
More beer.
So.
More beer.
It really does. You think I'm kidding?
Mausoleum.
Okay. So we do have about 30,000 residents here in the cemetery. We've got the records for the majority of them. Over the years that the cemetery has been managed by...
Can you believe what that
talking about prohibition and you want to come back? I got a silver piece for you.
Nice.
Nice.
Be a whore now.
Nice, you're a whore.
It is the life record of man, such as we are here to honor today, my good friend, Adolf Heilbronn. Well, let me introduce myself. I am Frederica Meyer of Daly City, and I am a good friend of Adolf and his wife Augusta. And let me, if we may, all raise a glass to Adolf Heilbronn.
Woo!
Yay.
Cheers.
Good. Well, let me tell you the history of Mr. Heilbronn. He was born in 1833 in Hanover, Germany, and he worked with his father in the tobacco business. Well, at the age of 19, the New World called to him. He made the journey of 56 days across the ocean to New York City. Upon landing in New York, he headed south to St. Louis to join his brother, where he continued in the tobacco business. Well, that lasted for a couple years, and then the call of California and the gold rush. So he headed west, and he joined another group of prospectors where he prospected in El Dorado, and with some degree of success. So being the frugal man that he is, he took his savings and joined another brother in Sacramento, where he went into the meat market business. Well, after all of this endeavor, he said, I need a rest. Well, what do? You go off to Europe and for about 18 months. Well, in Europe, he rested, he contemplated. He had a little German beer, a little Belgian beer,
Woo!
a little more German beer. He said, this is what Sacramento needs. So he returned to Sacramento in 1888, talked to a few friends and said, we need a brewery. Well, that was... I'm not sure who let her in. Pay no attention to the floozies. I am insulted. Oh. So he came back to raise a decent saloon and a decent brewery for decent people. Oh.
Kind of.
Oh, yes. So he came together with some friends and incorporated the Buffalo Brewing Company. Well, it was an absolutely fantastic brewery. It was on the corner, an entire city block, between 21st and 22nd, between R and Q Street. It was a grand affair. So in May 10th of 1890, they marketed their first beer. And initially, they were producing 60,000 barrels a day with room to expand.
Wow.
Well, how did they ship this much? Well, let me tell you, the railroad came to their door. The wagons came to their door. The customers came to their door. And shipping was not a problem as they expanded. With the likes of Herman Grau and Frank Rosteller and William Gerber, all men with impeccable brewery resumes, they made it one of the best, the largest this side of the Mississippi, which is really saying something because at that time, Sacramento had been home to 8 prior breweries. We knew our beer. Yeah. Well, let me say yes to Mr. Heilbronn, to Adolf. 2 doors down, large monument. Thank you all so much for coming.
Put him in the longboat till he's sober, lying in the morning. Hey ho, and up she rises. Hey ho, up she rises.
There's some nice grassy area here too, right in front of our spirit. You can stand up here if you would like to.
Yep, there's
Step.
plenty of room.
What?
My name is Robert Allen. I was born in Ohio in 1825. I came to California during the gold rush, just like so many others. But unlike those many others, I did not come here. Hey, we're back. I did not lower it now down. I did not come here to go up to the gold mines and look for gold. You see, I knew that mining for gold was a hit-miss prospect. You know, mining prospect. You guys, that's as good as they get. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But I knew that it didn't matter whether men were coming, didn't matter where they were going to, where they were coming from. They were going to want to drink. So I bought the Exchange Saloon down there on 7th and J Street. I had a house on 8th Street, so it was really convenient. I was very well respected. Everybody liked me, and I did a good business because I was one of the honest businessmen. And during the gold rush, it was kind of hard to find an honest businessman here in gold country. But I was one of them, and eventually became a turfman. Does anybody know what a turfman is?
No.
Horse racing, exactly. There was what they called the agricultural park over there on B and 21st Street, and I was one of the officials there because they knew that I was not going to lie about who won or take any favoritisms. So I was very well and respected and very well liked by just about everybody in town. I say just about because there were some people who didn't like my business and how well I was doing. One of them was J.D. Smith. He was owner and proprietor of the Good Enough Saloon. That name was very apt. It was what we called a dive. The story was that if a crime was committed in Sacramento, all the police had to do was go to the Good Enough, and 9 times out of 10, they'd find their man. So that tells you what type of place it was.
Civic duty.
And so, the beginning of my end came when I hired myself a new bartender. Unknown to me, he was a friend of J.D. Smith's. After a couple of weeks, he let J.D. know that I didn't lock my money up in the safe at night, because it really wasn't a good safe. I carried it home with me every night. And so once J.D. found out about this, he started planning a little plot to rob me. Well, he didn't want to do it himself. He got 3 thugs to do it. Didn't have to go far. He found them right there in his own bar. And they started planning this. And then one of the thugs, a man by the name of Haley, came up with the idea that, well, maybe instead of just robbing him, maybe we ought to just outright kill him because there's no witness. And so they were all set. All they had to do was wait for the signal from my bartender that I had a pretty good night and that I was carrying a lot of greenbacks and gold on my way home. On May 11th, 1891, they got their signal. About a half a block from home, 2 of the thugs came up behind me, and Haley hit me in the head with that hammer. I went down, but it didn't kill me. So they thought, well, we'll just strangle him, make quick business of it. I was a tough old codger, and I didn't die. So they decided, you know what, maybe we just better take the money and leave, and that's what they did. So I crawled the last half block to my house, and when my daughter opened the door and saw me covered in blood, she ran next door, got a neighbor who helped me upstairs into bed, did what he could for me. Then he went and got the doctor, came back with the doctor and helped the doctor as much as he could. And then he went to the police 4 hours later. Well, by then, of course, the thieves were long gone. Police didn't know whether they'd taken the train north to Reading or south to Stockton or taken one of the stagecoaches out or even gotten on the steamship down to San Francisco. But there is no honor among thieves. You see, I told you there was 2 thugs that came up behind me. The third one was in Galt when it happened. And when he got back to Sacramento and found that he had been left out of the easy money, he started talking. Of course, that talk made its way to the police, and they hauled him in. And then they started rounding up the people over the last few weeks, and they got 4 of them. One in San Francisco, my bartender, and old J.D. Well, for the next 2 months, they started having their trials, and they convicted 3 of those 4 of robbery and assault. And then I died. Well, now that it's no longer just a robbery assault, it's a murder, and the only one who hadn't been convicted yet was old J.D. himself. And so he was convicted of first-degree murder, but since he didn't actually commit the act, he was sentenced to life in prison, and he spent the rest of his life in San Quentin.
Oh.
So, yeah, I was pretty pleased about that myself. Of course, yeah. Okay, so the 5th man, Haley, and they're not even sure if that's what his real name was. They just knew him as Haley. They never did find him. But that was 120 years ago, and I figure he's long dead and buried by now. And the fact that you all are here listening to me tell my story, I figure I've won. So I have just one simple request. The next time somebody's talking about liquor and they say that they got hammered, think of me. Because I really did get hammered.
Nice.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this tour this evening. You guys are an integral part of maintaining the cemetery.
Woo.
So thank you.
Thanks for the beer.
Oh, you know, my husband had amazing beer at his bar. You would have loved him. He was amazing. Well, my name is Rosanna Keenan, and I died on a boat. Yeah, well, there's a bunch of stuff that happened before that, so we'll just go back to that. I was born in 1832. Never ask a lady her age. And I just gave it to you. Wow. And at the ripe old age of 20 in the Victorian times, I found my way to California, and I was like, I'm going to go to Sacramento. And where did I end up? But Placerville. Yeah. Oh, it was dreadful. I stayed there for 3 months doing my job. I made enough money to buy a beautiful 2-story house on 3rd Street between J and K. It was a boarding house. I had lots of boarders with lovely gentleman friends. My husband had a beautiful bar across the street, John, bless him, he was so sweet. So yeah, so I got here in 1852, bought the house in 1853, married the husband in 1854, yeah. The 50s were generally pretty good. I heard the new 50s were pretty good too. There's some folks here, they tell me things. So, and then, you know, everything was going really great. I was making a lot of money. We managed to buy some property in San Francisco. We had our property here in Sacramento. We were doing pretty well. And then in 1855, the California legislature decides to make it a misdemeanor and tax people who own brothels. What were they thinking? I mean, really, a lady's got to feed herself.
Lots of things wives don't want to do.
Yeah, and the first person they bring in, me. What's that all about? I was a respectable businesswoman. You know, my husband even testified to the fact that my ladies paid me rent. They were my boarders. So they were. Anyway, I absolutely demanded a trial by my peers, because virtually every man in town had been to visit my house. I knew I would win. And I did. But they decided to make an example of me, and so I was found guilty, and they made me pay $100. $100! That's a whole bunch of money in 1855, let me tell you folks. Holy smokes. So, I pay my fine. I'm a respectable woman. I pay my fine. And then, like 3 weeks later, they arrest me and 22 other ladies. What?
Boo.
Can't even catch a break. I appealed again, and we won that time. All 22 of us were acquitted. Thank you very much.
Yeah, woo!
Because we are respectable businesswomen. So, and you know, for the most part, life in Sacramento was pretty good. Stayed out of trouble. Husband had a couple bars around this place. It was good. And I did have one little, questionable issue. There's another lady who worked for another lady. And she tried to bite off my finger, so I blew pepper in her face. And they charged me with assault with a deadly weapon. Pepper. 1857, pepper was, a deadly weapon. Holy smokes. And then in 1865, John was just kind of over California and said, baby, let's move to British Columbia. I said, all right, honey, let's go. And so we're, packing our stuff, trucking our way up to British Columbia. And, when you move to a different country, it takes a couple trips. So, I decided that some of my ladies were so good to me, I decided to bring them with me back to British Columbia. They just really were gems. And so I come back down to Sacramento and loaded up 7 of them, and we got on a boat, and we were right outside of Oregon, right off the coast there. And when you know it, the boat hit a rock.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, whole boat. All those lifeboats. None of them worked. Yeah. So, you know, all that hard work and all I got was no shoes. That's life in the cemetery.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the Old City Cemetery. Thank you for coming out. My name is Miss Maria Rupp, and I am the proprietress of the Sacramento Beer Saloon, which was located over on King Street between 3rd and 4th. But by the looks of you, had you lived 150 years ago, you would have all known that. Anyway, I was from Germany, so therefore I know a lot about beer, much like a lot of you.
Woo!
And miraculously, having been here for 150 years, I've lost my accent, so don't ask me here. Now, before I get started with my story, I should probably get rid of a little bit of uncomfortable business. Now, you may be shocked to hear that we saloon owners have a bit of a reputation for doing a little bit more than saloon owning. And I'm going to go ahead and let you make up your mind as to whether or not that's the case in my situation. So, I will tell you that I did own a saloon, and I did have rooms above that saloon in which I lived. But I will also tell you that when I died, the newspaper said that I was a Catholic in good standing, as well as a virtuous woman, and that though I was surrounded by every temptation, I did not succumb. So, we all know we can believe everything we read in the newspaper, so I know you're all thinking good things about me. Yes, thank you. Now, having said that, I can probably tell you something you all know, being frequenters of saloons as I can tell you are, that sometimes you meet some unsavory characters when you're frequenting saloons. And Mr. Peter Metz was one of those unsavory characters. He got into his mind that he was going to marry me. You see, he was an out-of-work cook who lived at the boarding house and frequented my saloon. Well, when you're in my line of business, you get a lot of proposals, and you don't really take them so seriously because people don't always remember them. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Peter Metz remembered. And he remembered that when he asked me, I laughed it off and declined. Probably not my better decision. But anyway, he went around telling people in town that he was going to marry me and that he was going to take over my business. And that if he couldn't have me, nobody could. Well, he couldn't have me because I was already engaged to a doctor in San Francisco. My friend Swan and I were due to be married in 2 months, and in my 25-year-old infinite knowledge, I thought, well, perhaps I should just have my business open and make a little bit more money. Now, in hindsight, not the best idea I've ever had, but at the time, it seemed like a good one. So it was an evening, a cool, crisp autumn evening, much like, well, let's be honest, nothing like tonight. I was sitting at my pianoforte, playing for about a dozen of my customers, and I would like to state that I had been to church that morning. Anyway, I was playing for my customers when in walked Mr. Peter Metz, which wouldn't have been unusual because he was a customer of mine. He came in quite often. However, he came in to where I was playing, and he leaned in ever so close. Now, I thought that he was going to give me a kiss, which in 1857 would have been scandalous. But looking back now, that might have been a little bit more advantageous to me than what actually happened. You see, when Mr. Peter Metz leaned in ever so close, he did not kiss me. Instead, he brandished a knife and stabbed me in the left breast.
No.
Minutes later, I was dead. Days later, I was over there, where the cross is. Now, you may wonder what happened to Mr. Peter Metz. He ended up on the prison brig in the Sacramento River and ended up dying in prison. But more interestingly, you may wonder what happened to Francois. Did he remarry? Did he stay in San Francisco? Did he ever get over my death? Well, he never did remarry. In fact, a couple of years after my death, he passed away as well. And when he died, he donated his body to science, with one caveat, that his heart be buried over there, next to me, Maria Rupp. And it's as we say here in the Old City Cemetery, that is one man who did not leave his heart in San Francisco. Thank you.
Good job. So that was pretty cool, wasn't it, guys? Can't see.
Awesome.
You can't see us. You can't see, you can't see me. You can't see me right now.
You can't see me.
Oh, maybe you can see me now.
You can't.
Look at all these. There's so many people. That was awesome. That was the tour, guys. That was the tour.
Good night.